So just to kick it off, I know you've talked a lot about how you got your role in Saiyaara in other interviews,
Mhm.
which I've watched before when I was prepping for this interview. But
Wow.
I actually want to hear just what your feelings were in that moment when you found out that you signed the film, especially with it being a YRF film, right? It's like a huge deal to sign with a YRF film. What was that, feeling for you like in that moment?
Just to take you back a little in the story, I always wanted to start my journey off with YRF,
Mhm.
and I always wanted to be a part of one of the romantic films that YRF makes because that's what I've grown up watching. I have seen all of YRF films, and they mostly make romance, as everybody in the world knows. And Yash Chopra being one of my all-time favorite directors, and now Adi Chopra sir as well. As a kid, I always wanted to be a part of that, and I always manifested that. So when it actually came to me, when I still remember my mom and dad were in town. They're actually in Delhi. They stay in Delhi. That's where I'm from. But that time when I'd given my round of auditions and I was awaiting the news, my mom and dad were with me, and I remember I went to the room and I got the call, and yeah, I mean, I was feeling top of the world, and I just came out and told my parents, and they were very happy. And I remember my mom hugging me, my dad hugging me. So it was a very emotional moment. Had they not been here, I would have carried on my day and thought, okay, cool, yeah, what next, or something like that. But because of them being around and my manifestation coming true, my dreams coming true, I was very happy. And yeah, I was on top of the world, like I said. Yeah, it's that the feeling that you get when your dreams come true and you start off your journey with what you've always thought of in your head. It's literally that. Yeah, very emotional.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. It's almost like with your parents being there, it became a little bit more real, maybe.
That was the cherry on the top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand that feeling. And I do want to talk
Yeah.
about your journey a little bit because I have watched you in Das Jun Kirat. So,
Oh, you have.
yes, I have.
Good one, Malaika. Some research on your end has been done, huh?
Yes, so I have watched you in Das Jun Kirat, and I want to talk a little bit about the difference between web series and films because I have spoken with, quite a few actors that have done both, and they've kind
Yeah.
of talked about the differences for them behind the scenes. But I want to know for you, what was the main difference that you found between, web series and shooting for an OTT platform versus a big screen theater film?
I mean, I think films spoil you, and I've mentioned that as well. This is actually my second film. Why? It's my debut because it's my first Hindi film.
Hmm.
But my very first film, in fact, my very first project also was Noblemen,
Yeah.
which is an international film made by Sare Gama,
Hmm.
and it was for the international audiences. It was an English film. It was primarily in English. Only I had some dialogues in Hindi here and there, and some other characters, but it was primarily an English film made for the English audiences. That's why it went to Cannes, Berlin, Nashville, all the world festivals, and then Netflix took it. So again, when I was on the set of Noblemen as well. I mean, the only difference I've seen with the films and the OTT shows is that we shoot one or two scenes or maximum three scenes in a day. It's
Yeah.
very spread out. So it spoils the actor that there's a lot of time in hand. There's things are happening at its own pace, very naturally, very organically, very slow. So you have time to prep for it. You have time to relax. You have time to get into the scene. You have time to get off the scene. And things are happening very smoothly, naturally. Everybody's enjoying. Whereas when it comes to OTT, I don't know why, there are some 7, 8 scenes happening in a day, so it becomes very, very taxing if you're playing a primary part or the lead, which I've always done.
Yeah.
So just I can just only take out that difference from both the platforms. That I feel I'm more comfortable doing a film where you start off your day very nicely, smoothly, and you do 2, 3 scenes so that you're engrossed in it.
Yeah.
Because acting is not an easy job. Easy job. You got to immerse yourself completely. You got to make the whole world believe in what you're doing. So
Yeah.
just for those things, sorry. So just for that matter, I feel it's more comfortable as a medium for an actor. Films, even in Noblemen, I remember we were shooting 2 to 3 scenes a day. It was very chilled out. So I don't know how there's just so much time in hand when it comes to films, but on OTT, everything is just like running so fast. You have to do 7, 8 scenes in a day. Light chala jayega, ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega, just all
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, which really makes you feel very anxious, and I don't think actors should be allowed to feel anxious. Otherwise they won't be able to do their job well.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more packed or, rushed if you're doing that. And I know I've spoken with a few like television actors that have said the same thing where
Yeah.
because they're
Oh,
shooting.
I haven't even, Malaika, I haven't even spoken about TV. That's another race
Yeah.
altogether. Now they are doing 20, 30 scenes a day. So you can imagine that's another race altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that so difficult to even imagine, coming from someone who works like a very 9 to 5 job. It's very
Yeah.
interesting to hear about that, prospect where you're just kind of, with a lack of a better word, churning out episodes day after day.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
Yeah.
more of that rushed kind of confined space in which to act. So that's very interesting. I've actually never heard of that answer from someone before, when I was talking
But
about
that is true.
the
You've
PT.
got 12 hours of shoot. So when it comes to TV, imagine you're doing 20 scenes in those 12 hours. When it comes to OTT, you might be doing 10 scenes in those 12 hours. But when it comes to films, you might be doing 5 to 6 scenes max in those 12 hours. So that's how it's spread out. I've literally told everybody how it's like. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I want to move on to the party scene because we need to talk
Yeah.
about this. The party scene that, the release party that happens in Saiyaara versus the scene in which Mahesh comes to the concert and we have that
Yeah.
comeback scene. So there's a couple of things that I want to touch on this. The first is, how did you get into the skin of your character to kind of play this person that is inherently very gray shaded? Like there isn't a clear dynamic of whether or not he's inherently a bad person, but it is very
Hmm.
much a, gray shaded character. How did you get into the skin of Mahesh to get, the perfect kind of response from
Hmm.
everyone else around you?
So I've mentioned this earlier as well, and I have no qualms in saying that I was struggling to get into the psyche of the character. Okay, because as an actor, I knew I'll play with my nuances. Play it as dramatic and evil as possible.
Mhm.
But for me as an actor, sometimes it's important to understand my character as well. Not necessarily believe in him, relate with him, but just to understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
As simple as that. It's not necessary for me to actually become that person. I don't believe in that bullshit. It's very easy for me to switch on and switch off. Maybe that's why I'm an actor. But again, to switch on as well, I need to know why he's doing what he's doing.
yeah,
That's where I feel my director Mohit Suri sir played a very important part in shaping my psyche and the skin of the character. Because I still remember my very first day when we did the office scene. I was playing it as a hero. I was like, okay, I am the bad guy, and I'm just moving all over the place, doing all possible nuances and movements to make it look like I'm the evil guy. Please give me attention. I'm the evil guy. Please focus on me. Whereas he came to me after the very first shot and he's like, cut, no, no, no. And he took me aside and he said, remember the time you gave your audition. And in my audition, I had done it completely differently. I had that gaze, I had that silences, I had that therav, the control, which someone like Mahesh would need. At the end of the day, he's a guy who's made it himself. One only eeny beeny itsy thing that is good about him is that he was ambitious,
yeah,
and what he really wanted to do, he did that. He
yeah,
went to America, he married whoever he wanted to, but then at the end of the day, he did end up becoming a billionaire at a very young age by maybe 29 or 30, which is not a lot of people do in the world. So he told me, listen, he's owned the world. So now he feels that, okay, now that I've owned the world, I can maybe own my ex-girlfriend back again. Maybe get into her pants, whatever the psyche is. So he's not that bad at all. It's just that this guy has become bad and gotten some bad traits, which I would say, I don't know, 30 to 40% of the men in the world sometimes get into. Even a woman can fall into that trap. Okay, now I'm an owner of this company. I think my all my ex-boyfriends should come down and fall on my knees, whatever.
yeah,
So it's a bad trait, it's a bad thinking, it's a bad psyche, it's a bad rational. But somehow this guy has developed that. So just go with that psyche and calm down, buddy, calm down. You don't need to dance all over your scene. The world will dance for you. So, he really helped me a lot. He told me about how I need to touch her because I was not touching her at all in the scene because that's not me, right? But
yeah,
then he told me you have to just to make the audiences feel how bad he is.
yeah,
So the touching part, he told me that wherever you feel, go for it. So there were a lot of takes that happened in the party scene also because I was just not touching her. That
yeah,
was not coming naturally to me. So whether it's the touching, whether it's the gaze, whether it's just looking at her in a menacing way, everything was taught to me by the man, the myth, the legend, Mohit Suri sir. So it's actually shaped up by me and him together. Like in the 10th scene, also the choreography was partially done by me, partially done by him, and that's why I really like him. He was asking me, "Would you want to make her sit on you?" I was like, "Yeah, maybe we can do this," and then I showed him that thing.
Mm.
So it was all done together. It was like a it all came in together thanks to him and thanks to whatever I was feeling in the moment. And yeah, it's always fun to play a gray shade. Yeah, like I did that in Nobleman. Now I did that with this one. So somehow it always falls on my lap, and I'm just very happy to be doing such meaty roles. Because in OTT, if you see, I was only doing positives. So I
Yeah.
think I kind of got bored with that because Leaked was also very positive. Ruhanyat was very positive. Das Jun Ki Raat was very positive. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with whatever. Yeah. Hmm.
No, that's really interesting that you bring that up because there's been this huge debate. I know that TikTok is not available in India, but for the first generation Indian American kids, Saiyaara has been a big deal. It's like our film. And so there's been a huge debate about whether or not Mahesh actually really liked Vani still, or if this was more of a
Hmm.
show thing. And I found that interesting that you bring that up, that you understood it was more of an ego trait where it was that I've
Yeah.
achieved all of this and now I want to take her back because now she's dating this, band member. And so
Hmm.
I want to kind of take her back. And I remember watching it in theaters when I first watched it. It was so hard for me to watch that scene. And I think that's such a great, thing, attribution to you and your character and
Thank
how you
you.
brought it out because I was like watching it in between my hands because it was just so, hard to watch. And I think that that
Hmm.
is what makes that scene great. Like that's what makes that scene the climax scene. So I want to go into the next part of that scene, which is where
Hmm.
character Krish kind of comes in and you guys have this fighting scene. Was that, choreographed and staged? Was there a stunt double for that? What was that experience like?
Hmm. I mean, the scene was done by me and him.
Mhm.
There were no stunt doubles. We had stunt doubles on standby, but I
Okay.
don't think they were used because our choreography was so smooth, and he was very good with whatever was trained and told to him. And at the same time, I had nothing to do. I just had to get beaten up,
Yeah.
and I had to run for my life. So those were two very easy things to do. But whatever said and done, of course, you're a little scared. You have your apprehensions with such scenes that when it will come out, how the audiences will take it. But I personally feel, Shaan, on the contrary, feels that, and I've said that also again, that if I've done something wrong on screen, that guy should be punished. That character should be punished, and maybe that's what happened. So for me, I just feel that okay, I did some really nasty things in the film, and he got his punishment. Right? He was beaten up by the hero. Now, what else do you want? And then he's not to be seen at all in the film. So yeah, I mean that's nothing more. There's nothing more that I would want to add.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is I didn't get hurt. I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
So everything's good in the hood. And yeah, a great hats off to the action director and his team who made us do everything in sync and very nicely in a smooth manner. So that was really nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
And just to kind of wrap up the conversation around, the main tent scene, what was it like working with Aneeth? I know that you mentioned, you would
Hmm.
kind of come up with different ways of choreographing it with
Yeah.
Marie. So what was it like kind of working with her? And was there a lot of like input from both of you in terms of the choreography? What was that experience like?
Oh, I mean, the best thing that could have happened to Mahesh as an actor, Shan as an actor, and Mahesh as the character was to get a co-actor like Aneet, because she's just so giving. She's just so she loves acting. She loves films, and that's what we bonded us. And we had some workshops as well before the film started, so that really got us together. And it didn't feel like we've just met each other,
Mhm.
because if you see on paper, they've dated for like 2 3 years before Krish comes in, and hence the heartbreak, which was so daunting for her.
Mhm.
So just to show all those things and just to have that chemistry, it was all thanks to her. Yeah, she was just so giving and open-minded that she told me, "Listen, whatever you want to do, just do it." And for a young actress like that, I mean, I got scared. Imagine, I was more scared to touch her or maybe like do whatever things, but she said, "Listen, you shouldn't be scared of anything. You should just go all out as an actor, go perform, do whatever." So yeah, I mean, because we became very good friends, that it could come out like that, you know, because that's how we could portray our scenes the way it has come out. So all thanks to the friendship that we created and the bond we had. So very smooth and very nice again to work with her, and I'm just very happy that she was a part of the film. Had it been somebody else who wouldn't have responded the same way or reciprocated it, then it could have been a little tough for me. But she was very easygoing, and you can do whatever. So as a co-actor, you also try to improvise and maneuver your way around the scene, and which really helped me and Mohit sir also. You know,
Yeah.
like whatever she said, like whatever Mohit sir was saying that do this, do that, she was completely open with that, and she would rather suggest that maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that. So yeah, she's truly a great actor to work with.
Yeah. It was very clear on screen, just kind of that comfortability, and you're seeing her have that.
It's important, right? Yeah, it's so important to see that, you know, no matter what character you're playing, whether it's an ex-boyfriend, whether it's a current boyfriend, whether it's a boss, whether it's your watchman, if there's no sort of familiarity, it will always show. You
Yeah.
will always catch it that there's something wrong. And hence, in the last few years, you saw some Hindi films weren't working because you could see the chemistry is not right, the familiarity is not there. So I think that's really important, and that's what happens in the US, by the way. And I'm a big fan of that. People say they have more money, they are more talented. No, they just really invest a lot of time and efforts into making a movie. And that's what really, at the end of the day, is required. If the actors are chilling for 2 to 3 months before the movie starting, it will cultivate and show on screen.
Yeah.
So I really feel at the end of the day, it's always about coming together and making something worthwhile, you know? That's
Yeah.
it.
No, for sure. And I do think that that comfortability really came on screen, especially in that scene, because she's having that breakdown that leads her back to having like the Alzheimer's break, right? And it's so interesting to kind of watch just the entire psyche on her face shift. And I think that's a,
Yeah.
tenement to your guys' comfortability on screen together in that scene, like I was mentioning before. So that's amazing to hear. I love to hear that you guys were very comfortable with each other and that scene was able to play out the way that it did. So just to move past Saiyaara a little bit, what are some of your upcoming projects that, people can look out for, watch out for to see you on screen?
So I have two projects that I should be talking about right now. One is a web series which was already done before Sayara came out. It's a musical again. It's a musical web series with some really fab songs. It's
Okay.
a romantic web series, and I'm playing the lead in it. So
Okay.
that will be fun for me to see how the audiences and all over the world perceive it. You know, from being the antagonist on something as iconic as this to playing the hero who is doing all the same things that maybe Krish is, and even more. You know, as you'll see, it's a supernatural thriller. So it's a very crazy one with some great music, like I said. So and it's a web series though; it's a 5 episoder, but a lot of VFX since it's supernatural. So that is there. It is called Jagdalpur. It should be coming out later in the year, whenever I don't know. I haven't discussed it with the producers, and I have just now sort of started working on this film, which is an indie film. It's a very indie film. It's called Spellbound. It's called Spellbound, and I'll be shooting for it in October, I think. And it's a very mystical journey of a guy again who goes through a breakup and then gets back with her, with his ex or whatever, and moves on with his life. And he's staying in the hills. Very indie sort of a film
Okay.
called Spellbound, which has magic, which has romance, which has this guy's journey basically. Who's actually, by the way, while talking to you, I realized a lot like Mahesh. You know, it's a spin-off on maybe Mahesh's life. That what if Mahesh was not so bad and led a different life altogether.
Yeah.
That when he maybe after he realizes what he did, he goes on this trip of getting moksha to the hills and lives his own life there. Yeah, leaving everything behind. Something like that. Yeah.